Private equity wants to buy his IP. His book is launching, his platform is growing. But at the same time, he's navigating his son's long health journey and working to protect his family's freedom. How do you deal with the challenges of juggling all of these things while staying on mission and keeping freedom? Today, I'm here with my good friend, Trey Sheneman. Trey is the founder of an incredible company called Herald, and he's also the author of The Compass Method: How Modern Brands Grow Revenue Faster. Over the last 15 plus years, he's helped leaders like me and John Maxwell, Dave Ramsey, and Brendan Burchard turn influence into durable, measurable revenue systems. His team partners with founders and their revenue teams to install the Compass Method operating system. You're going to want to know about this because it creates clearer offers, tighter messaging, and repeatable go-to market rhythms. Trey also hosts the 10-minute masterclass, a weekly podcast I recommend to you, where Trey's going to teach you practical frameworks across marketing, sales, operations, cooking, just kidding, and leadership. He's a faith-driven entrepreneur, a master's program member. Trey serves with a kingdom founders mindset, all about making business flourish to increase eternal impact. Trey, you're a good friend. I am so glad you'd come and join me here on the podcast. Welcome.
Jeff, this feels like this is like a decade in the making. We've only known each other a couple years, but it feels like I've known you for half my life at this point. And I'm excited to be on Leveraging Success today with you. Obviously, I'm fond of who you are as a leader. I consider you not only a friend but my own coach, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today because, man, your boy needs help. I always need help. None of us can do it on our own, but I definitely need help today.
Everybody needs a coach. I've got one. We all need one. As you say that, Trey, I was thinking to myself, well, how old are we? But, we've known each other for long enough to feel old, I guess you could say. But I'm glad for us to get into it. Before we started the camera rolling, we were getting a landscape of your life and getting an update on how things are going. And the way that leaders need to see their power core is their body, mind, soul, and spirit, and how that provides power to the roles that we've got in our life and our career, our marriage, our finances, our children, and how those roles then apply to ways with which we can take that success and apply it to the significant thing God called us to. Trey, so like we were going through all of that, and you were helping me to understand not only you have this great book launching, which I already mentioned, but with that at the same time, you've got people calling on you. Now, it's really normal for high achieving, successful people to have private equity, people coming knocking at the door saying, "Hey, I love your work here. Come merge with me. Come be a part of what we're doing." And this isn't the first rodeo for you. You've had lots of these kind of conversations, but now you're starting to juggle with reality and opportunities. Plus, on the playing field for you is not only this book that's about to launch that's got a you know high ramp on it, and these offers that are in play. Those of us who are following you on LinkedIn and other social media platforms are watching the story of your son Bear, which has been so touching. I know you and Jenny have been on an incredible journey, his health journey, and so you're managing that timing, and you're trying to keep your sanity and your your vertical relationship with the father, your marriage all together. So you've got some pretty broad shoulders here. Help us understand what you're dealing with and what we're going to be tackling here today.
So I would say just the kind of like quick diagnostic on the business. So I run a company called Herald. Um, the background of Herald is I've been in revenue growth consulting for the almost 16 full years now. As a pastor for 5 years before that. That's another story for a different day. But in those 16 years, I spent 7 years as a partner in agencies, learning kind of the done for you model. people that were outsourcing the marketing to an agency. And then I spent the middle 6 years working as a CMO inside of companies. So the building the teams here kind of a model. And I started Herald a couple of years ago to kind of come back out of being client side and to be able to partner with founders, people like you, to kind of say, hey, this is what it looks like when you do it the right way inside of your company, but you keep the agility of what an agency can bring to the table, and sort of started installing these hybrid growth systems inside of companies, which is ultimately what the book is about. And I would say it's gone really well, which is great. If you're going to be in the revenue growth business and you can't grow your own revenue, well, then there's a there somewhere. So that part has been really neat. At the same time, though, I'm kind of at this intersection point with the business, meaning you nailed it. Underneath this business curve that we've been on, this growth curve we've been on ourselves, we've had this health issue going on with our son for over 5 years now. First four and a half, which was not really diagnosable. It's kind of this unknown known thing where a lot of people were using things like one of one. We'd never seen it before. And it took us earlier this year in 2025 of getting in front of a team in Chicago. That was our fourth children's hospital we had been to, of like, go down the list. They're the top, four of the top 10 children's hospitals in America. And finally, this one gentleman, this one doctor was like, oh yeah, I've seen it before, like maybe two, three, four times max. And he's 70. And he was like, this is what we do to fix it. And I would say, because we had this lingering, unknown known in the background of like, we know he's ill, but we don't know how to fix it, kind of a thing. I had been building the business very directionally as if I was going to have to step away from it for a while. And so that was making us go more passive income design inside of the business, which is not necessarily what I set out to originally do. So fast forward to now. Now we have a game plan for Bear. It's been diagnosed. We know what the fix is. We also know that the fix doesn't have to be till probably 7, 8, 9. It could be 7, 8, 9, 10 months from now, and he should be okay. I've been able to look more at what do I really want in this season, and speak with my bride. What does she really want this season? It's been 3 years of building, like really building long days, long nights, travel all over America. And we have had recently, we had a couple of groups, two different groups kind of come to the table because they really want the access to the IP, the revenue growth system that I've built called the Compass Method. They really see it as a leverageable asset that they could do at scale a lot quicker than I could do on my own. That's kind of the best way to say it. And I've really been trying to decide if that's what I want for it or not. Meaning, is that the vision that I saw for the IP? My plan right now has been, I work with only a handful of clients at a time, kind of as a fractional CMO, and we scale it that way. And that's been a great business. It's been a very lifestyle business. And so we're kind of at this point now where Bear is not in the clear, but should be in the clear inside of the next year. We've got a very serious group at the table that wants access to Trey and the IP. It would come with the job. It's not like I would sell and leave. I would sell and work. Um, or there's the opportunity to say no to the private equity groups of the world and ride the back of the book launch and just keep building a lifestyle business and play the game of constraints. Play up hey, the book's here. I wrote the book because I can only be in a handful of places. I can only be in one place at one time, but I can only work with a handful of companies at any one time. If the best way you can work with me instead of that is read the book. Like I didn't hold anything back in the book. It's all in there. The entire system is in the book. And so I would say, I don't know if we're going to get to an answer today, but I think the hope that I would have for you is what are the questions I should be asking myself to derive the true outcome that the Lord, would want me to experience in this situation, that I could still be a better, I mean, not a good steward, an even better steward of the three lives that he's given me to be responsible for, and my wife and my two kids. Also too, I've been on a health quest kind of behind the scenes too. I used to be really large. I'm still not a small human being, but a lot smaller than I was. And I'd like to be smaller than I am, so I've been on this weight loss kick kind of. I feel like doing it the right way. There's been good and bad in that journey too. But so, anyways, I really want to build a life. I don't want to build a business. The business is a bridge to the life I'm looking to build. So, yeah, that's the context of the decision making inflection point that I'm at right now, and just looking to see how you would approach it if what kind of questions I should be asking myself.
Yeah. So I've got a 5 column approach to option evaluation. And I'd like to take this with you. Maybe you want to grab this to be able to rate some of these options for yourself, but 3 of these columns I use for priorities just in general, like projects and things of that nature, but I use all 5 of these when I've got a major decision to make or to evaluate. And so my columns are money, family, freedom, passion, and kingdom. So money, family, then my freedom, the freedom factor, which really is what we're after here, or we talk a lot about on this podcast, talking about how do you get and keep your freedom. And then how much passion do I have for this? And then and when we talk about passion, I mean, it's just my reflex, my love, what I jump out of bed and love, and then kingdom. And so when we talk about kingdom in the master's program, you know what we define that as love God, love people, make disciples. This is our Father's business. So when we're in his business and it's truly kingdom impact, it's going to have all 3 of those things happening. So when we're evaluating that, I would weight them with the money being the least and the kingdom being the most,
Amen.
and then simply going on a scale 1 to 10, what's my gut say? Not spreadsheets say, nothing like that, just simply my gut says the money in this is a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. The family in this is a 10 out of 10, meaning this is gonna be good for my family, good for my presence in my family. And when we talk family, we define it not as I'm just writing checks for my family, I'm a ATM for my family, but rather my presence, my spiritual leadership, my design over their learning. This is me leading in my family. And then I've made the definitions for freedom, passion, and kingdom. So you're looking over some options and we're weighing it, like I said, money the least, kingdom the most, and you're just doing it 1 to 10 and looking through several things. How does that help? Would you like to piece apart the options that are there?
Exactly where I was going to go because I think kingdom passion. So there's zero doubt that if there was an equity group to sell to, it's this one. Okay. Like they are heaven meets earth investors. Like this is, it's God's capital. It's not theirs. It's God's calling. It's not theirs. It's like that. So, and you know, the way that I've been trying to lead from the beginning inside of my own business, I really do try and wake up every day and function that way already with loving God, loving people, and making disciples, both in my team members, the clients we meet, so on and so forth. So I think, there's not a scenario on the table where that column is on equal footing to me, is the way I would say it. The financial column, it's on equal footing. No matter which way we go, there's not like one is bad and one is good. Like we're going to be provided for in any of the situations. So I'm not necessarily, one of the situations would be like, yeah, there might be some cash up front kind of a thing, but it's all. So I think the money one, but it's really, and from a passion standpoint, no matter which one I keep, if I keep Harold and I'm going to move it in my passion direction more than it has been anyways. And definitely if I exit and go with these guys, they're bringing me into my passion, which is as like chief revenue guide across an entire portfolio of businesses, which is what I wake up. So really the 2 columns to lean in on our family and freedom. And so naturally in this current world, I get to set the schedule. You know this, but for the listener, we homeschool. I'm, you know, I'm fairly active, I believe, in homeschool. Particular subject areas is the way I would say it, are kind of like mine to step in and support. And that looks like I just finished a 2-hour Algebra 1 session right before we started recording this call, middle of the day. So having command over the schedule, I talk to Jen about this all the time. I don't have a day off at all during the week at all, like Monday through Sunday. Like, but I work a little bit every day so that I can have chunks of time off different times of the week, and mainly during the week to help out with homeschool. Our kids go to 2 different tutorials and there's lots of errands in different directions. And so I've been trying to move our life in that business. So I would say it does feel like that control would be one I would give up if I'm no longer my own boss, right? Like if if I go get a boss again, which is what would come with the acquisition, yeah, we'd get a little bit of a payday, but I would have a schedule that'd be a bit more dictated to me rather than dictated by me, which is a big. So I would say with the other context, about what's going on in our household and everything, obviously you can't make the decision for me, but it feels to me like freedom and family are actually the larger deciding factors in this decision than any of the rest of it.
And so I think if we're beginning with the end in mind, what do you really want in the end said about you by your family? And how important is freedom to make what you want your family to say about you happen? You're right, and it was the first thing I started to write down here. Is that being a chief revenue officer? I think there's always that. Am I an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur? The entrepreneur is the guy that can make, build on the outside, build the system, start from scratch. The entrepreneur is the guy that works, on the inside of a large company and helps them to innovate to go to the next level. When you think about that for yourself, and I know you've worked on both sides of that, uh, where does your heart lead you? Enter entrepreneur.
I think it's the first time I really ever come to this realization. I think I own the biggest business I can build on my own right now. I think we're at a critical point in Harold that if it gets any bigger, it's gonna impact the life and everything I'm trying to build. It's also the most I can personally manage, and it still feels like I drop balls, here and there from an administrative. That's not my giftedness at all. That the bookkeeping, the billing, the PTO, like the payroll, like all I do it because I have to because I own the company. So when I look at what we're doing on top line, and then I think about my largest role I had as an entrepreneur inside of a very large company, what that division was doing on the top line, I mean, it's 50x, between the two, where I was just given this space of like, no, 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 just go be uniquely you. And all you have to do is be a 10 out of 10 in your 3 or 4 areas that you're a 10 out of 10. And we're going to wrap all the resources around you and just lead, just set the strategy for the organization. Um, so when I think about it that way, and I would say there's a lot of pros to be said for the entrepreneur side if you're thinking about it from that kind of an impact and a scale standpoint.
Yeah, well, can I jump in with you there, if you don't mind? Okay, so just recapping, right? Is that the entrepreneur is the Steve Ballmer, right? Who was on the inside of Microsoft. He was the not the first CEO. He came along afterwards and was all about scaling it, built it big, had some great moments. Right, the entrepreneur is the Steve Jobs, right? Who has the vision, and on the outside, and enjoys thinking differently. But I want to reason I jumped in on you is I want to fight the bigger is better notion. Um,
That's I'm glad you're fighting it because that's where I was going to
I
go.
don't think that more and bigger. I mean, I think a lot of the most wealthy people in this world have time freedom, not incredible bank accounts. And all that is at some point is just a scoreboard for this world that won't matter forever. And all that money factor is how much do you need to get that freedom, and what is it going to take to sustain that freedom? So as you're processing, the only reason I just wanted to jump in the middle of your thought out loud there is how
Yep.
really important is it for you to be a part of, the Ramsey size big company
Mhm.
versus where
Yep.
you're at today. I'm not saying right or wrong, don't get me wrong. I'm just leaning in on what's gonna get you what you're
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. Hmm, I think if I were ranking these 5 columns, I want to say that I'd give the Bible answer and that kingdom would be first and family would be second and passion would be third and freedom would be fourth and money would I would that's not. I would say kingdom would be first, but I think freedom would be second. on the list for me. Just knowing the way I feel every day, waking up, going like, at the end of the day today, I get to decide who gets my attention, admiration, and affection in this day. Yeah, there's some stuff on my calendar and I'm going to get everything I got. But if it really came down to it, I have complete control to move something to tomorrow or kick it out for 4 or 5 days. And I get to be business up top and casual down below, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there's just so much flexibility in law. I'm going to show up at anybody's office. It's so weird for me because I am the biggest capital E extrovert you ever met in your life. And it took something like COVID sending us to work from home for 6 weeks for me to be like, wait a second, like I could do this. And now I've been home for 3.5 or 4 years and the whole world has gone back. And I couldn't imagine going back. Like, I literally couldn't imagine it. Thankfully, there isn't a situation I'm being asked to consider right now where I have to go back anywhere, and both staying in what I'm doing or having an exit both require, a moderate amount of travel. It's nothing crazy, like, that wouldn't change. So in either situation, I get to stay home more, but it's that idea of who's deciding what things go on my schedule from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day that I think is the biggest, most critical part of this for me above anything else, which honestly is the angle my wife has been taking is like, "Hey, I know you, like, more than the money is gonna be, well, the money's gonna be either way. We all know everybody we're talking to loves Jesus, and that's like the main qualifier we're gonna have for any work that we do. Like, those things are all solid. When you're really looking at passion, you're it's the same job. It's just you doing it for somebody or you doing it for yourself. So now that I'm looking through your filters, we weren't using this language. She just kept going like, "Are you sure? Are you really sure?" It'd be different if, as I told you before, it'd be different if somebody's rolling up saying like, "Yeah, we're just gonna buy it from you, and you can just be done." That'd be a very different conversation. There is an if anybody's listening, there is a number in there, by the way. But,
There's always a
it's
number.
yeah, there is a number. It's like, that's not a scenario that's being considered,
Yeah.
right? There is like, "Well, we're gonna buy access to you, and then you've gotta sign a couple of year deal here where you're gonna come help us build the next tier of what you were gonna do." Um I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I had now that I'm thinking through it, these filters, I'm going like,
Fran, I just want to tie something together here. What you said earlier, and forgive me if this was off camera, but I think what you said was that it was 4 years or so ago when Bear's diagnosis became clear, the complications. At the same time, God gives you the freedom to control your schedule. Here you have this huge blessing. And I think this is the challenge for every man is not to get opportunity suckered, right? Is to say that the promotion, the job, the buyout will be the greener pasture. And you're the type of person. This isn't the first group that's offered you. They're going to continue to. You're going to continue to receive those offers, but your freedom here, especially in this moment where Bear's going to have that, I can't help but think keeping your freedom right in front of this, book launch and everything is gonna make you a happier man. You should be honored, I imagine you are, by all the interest people have in you, but keeping your freedom, man, I think it's a high, and I think you're right to rank it very high. Heart and freedom next to kingdom are super important because when my heart's engaged, I'm a better dad. When I've got freedom, I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband when I have those 2 things engaged.
yeah, I think there's another side of this too, as we were talking off camera a little bit before the podcast started. There's another person in this deal, right? There's my bride in this deal since we are one. And I will also say, one of the things the Lord's been really working on me is like she has dreams, aspirations, and all those things too. And me keeping more freedom will allow me to sow seeds into that a lot better than it is if I go out and have a master over me again that's saying, nope, you got to be in this city on these days for 8 days. And no, they cannot come. Because right now, there's a couple times a year when I go, they go too. So if you know what I'm saying? Like we just don't go. And they would get to have these experiences around my work, we've had some really epic, awesome experiences now in the last couple of years too, which probably, well, they don't go away, but they're not as business write offable. If you know what I'm saying, when there's advantage, there's perks to the way that capitalism works in this great country that we live in. So, yeah, man, this has been really healthy for me. I would say there's been this little bit of an unsettledness of like, am I over here jiggling the handle on this thing? Like, am I the one that's, because they made an offer that was like no, like it was like an immediate no, and then it's like they circled back, and it's been this long drawn out thing now. Incredible. Um, but it's like, am I really? Is this the Lord opening a door no man can shut, or is this Trey pushing on a door that somebody else kind of cracked open and trying to see like what might be on the other side? So this has been very healthy for me. Um,
Well, I got to tell you, I know how special of a woman you're married to. Jenny's awesome. You've got an incredible two kids, and your influence platform is growing and growing. I know your followers are growing online. Your podcast is blowing up, and all of these things. Yeah, I'm so as a coach. I'm also a consultant. I do have an opinion, so I'm not just pretending to box around you and hope that you get my idea. My opinion is you're too talented to sell your talent to somebody else. You have too much of a special thing to be able to be so heavily involved. And you think of like people that have health crises with their precious children who have to go to work or work three jobs just to pay for all of that. What a blessing it is for you to be in that role and grow your influence. So I, I'm 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 excited for you. At the end of each of these sessions, what I like to do, Trey, is to ask you to make a commitment that's your own words. What are you going to commit to as a result of what we've been talking about here? Because as you get it across your lips, it makes it real. So, for you, what are you committing to in terms of next steps to implement or get moving with what we've been talking about here?
I think the healthiest thing for me to do would be to finish scoring the 5 columns based on, there's really 4 scenarios on the table, 3 with the group and the one that doesn't happen with the group and I keep it, kind of a thing. And then ask my wife to do the same thing around the same definitions, because she hears from the Lord really clearly a lot of the time, and see how similar our scores might be, and see if there's actually a fleece in there somewhere around what the Lord's actually speaking to both of us. And then maybe even do some prayer and fasting into that as the option. Kind of in the only catch with, not a catch with all of it, is like everyone kind of needs to make a decision in the next week or two because of the launch of the book and like who's going to own what, where are we going, and all the things. So I feel like those feel like good next steps to me.
Fantastic. Let me pray for you if you'd allow me to.
Please.
God, thank you for all the blessings of talent, time, and treasure. They come to us in differing amounts, but what you've promised us is by percentage, you'll evaluate us for how we used what you gave us. And you've made this man a rich man. So I pray that you would help him to evaluate, to make sure that everything that he's got will matter forever, that all of his success will be leveraged into significance. Thank you for the blessing of his book. I pray that it would multiply many times over. And Lord, as he continues to get success, that he would use that platform to hold your son up high and glorify him. We love you, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Hey,
man.
Trey, this has been awesome. I've learned a lot just being with you. I always do. And I'm grateful for your friendship. Thanks for joining me here on the podcast today.
But man, this one was really good. It felt very timely. So thank you.
All right. Bless you, buddy.
God bless you.
Hey, that was another great conversation with Trey Sheneman. Each one of these coaching sessions are meant for you to process what we've heard here. And what we talked about are 5 columns that you can use right away to evaluate the opportunities that are in your life. And as I was talking to Trey, you heard me say, watch out for getting opportunity suckered. People who are high achieving, that have done a lot, they have a lot of suitors that come into their life saying, come get this promotion, come get bought out. And we have to evaluate them holistically, because if it's money or prestige alone, that's when we get opportunity suckered. So the 5 columns I gave you today, and you can write these down for yourself, is to consider the money, your family, your freedom, your passion, and the kingdom. And I defined those in the podcast if you want to look back. In fact, here in the show notes, you can click a link. I've got a evaluation with instructions. You can use my form for yourself to evaluate your opportunities and sort of fill it in. Make it a topic for a mentor of yours, or you bring it to your spouse and have them look at it with you and prayerfully consider Your choice is here. Hey, if you're enjoying leveraging success, would you hit the like button? If you're watching us here on YouTube, subscribe to this podcast. We're going to have lots of content for Christian marketplace leaders who are looking to leverage their success to make an impact that will matter for eternity. See you next time.